Shalom, family, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's weekly news update. Always a pleasure for us to get together on these days to go over news headlines and catch up on the things that are happening in our world. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we have a website that we put together that is just for these updates. And so if you will go on over to remnantwatch.com, you will find all of the stories that we're going to be discussing not only tonight, but any of the updates that we've had in the past. You'll find the stories here on Remnant Watch. And it's a very good resource. It's one that I frankly think is a very good way for us to get those stories cleared. We're able to get headlines without having to get too deep unless you want to, and that's a reality. We have to keep track. One of the things that we like to say around here is that we like to be informed without being overwhelmed. And that's an important principle, that we like to be informed without having that overwhelming sense that often happens when you're getting too many updates. And honestly, that can be very challenging. So I want to encourage everybody to watch that. And if you start seeing your anxiety levels start to really go up, it may be that you're overstimulating in this type of information. And so be very careful about that. Something that we took note of. And that's why we do these weekly. Because again, like I said, we like to be informed without being overwhelmed. And we like to look at these things from the 10,000 foot view from a biblical perspective. So we don't want to get too emotional about anything we see, although some of the stories can be quite heart-wrenching. But our intention is to try to continuously have a sense of where we are, how things are progressing in terms of the biblical narrative, and also understanding where you are, depending upon where you are in the earth, what perils may be coming your way. It is one thing for us to be completely disconnected, and that, I believe, is a very dangerous thing to do in this time period, the world's most perilous time. But I also think being overly connected is not healthy as well. So it is a good thing to find that balance and stay connected in a healthy way. And I certainly encourage every one of you to find your point of assembly, find the place that Elohim has established for you to be part of an assembly there. And on that note, let's get to the news. And on topping our stories tonight is Israel is starting to feel the international pressure. It was just a couple of weeks ago that we were hearing that this offensive in Gaza was going to be going on and on and on for months. And just to prepare for that, well, apparently that has not flown so well in the world community. And so as a result, we're seeing a change in the program. Israel to end intensive strikes soon. Violent surges in the West Bank. They're starting to see a disintegration from within. And this is becoming very challenging for Israel, as you all well know. This is one of the areas that we are watching very closely. We know that there is a purge that Yahuwah Elohim will be doing in Israel. January 15th, Israel on Monday said the intensive phase of its war on Hamas in southern Gaza would end soon, while a surge in violence in the West Bank has left several Palestinians dead. Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said in a press briefing that the military has completed the intensive maneuvering stage in the northern Gaza Strip. He further added that in the southern enclave, the intensive stage is expected to conclude soon. Soon. So everybody calm down. Don't yell at us too much. We're going to stop this whole thing soon. Again, we don't pick sides in any of these types of conflicts. I don't care who they are. We do not believe that a bomb solves anything. And so we are always on the side of life. So we don't pick sides in these conflicts. I see a lot of people getting suckered into that, and I think that's a big mistake. Our responsibility, I believe, is to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. There are bad hands on both sides. Usually is the case. So there is that. And the warnings that are starting to come out in Israel. So again, 10,000 foot view, we're picking up these little things that are sort of squeaking by without notice, right? So adding a little context and character to, or well, context to the story is probably the right way to say that. A little texture, that's the word I wanted to find. Israel's hospitals near Lebanon's border. Now, remember, we talked about this, how that Israel was essentially establishing another front. We couldn't figure out why they would want to do that, but they did. And Israel's hospitals near Lebanon border preparing for desert island scenarios. A massive attack by Hezbollah could leave the medical centers for days without access to equipment, medicine, or food, as well as staffs in the reserves. And in this conflict, hospitals are not off the list of potential targets, as we've already seen. So there's that. But I digress. The Israeli Health Ministry ordered hospitals in the north to be ready to receive thousands of wounded under extraneous conditions as fighting intensifies on Israel's border with Lebanon, according to a report by Cannes. The Ziv Hospital in Safed and the Galilee Medical Center in Nahadia started preparing for what has been described as a desert island situation, meaning days without equipment, medicines, or food in the event of a massive Hezbollah attack. So this is now being seeded into the narrative. We talked about this before. They continue to seed the narrative with this potential conflict. And again, there are those forces, there's those who believe that all-out war is a good thing. All-out conflict is a good thing. Saints, this is predicted. In fact, Messiah specifically says to us, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that your heart is not troubled. The end is not yet. In other words, this is going to be normal, especially as we get to the end. He knew that the adversary would be out of time and would be basically throwing a fit as his days are numbered. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a giant tantrum being thrown by those that are on their way out because they're not able to handle the reality that they're losing their grip on power. As a matter of fact, staying in Israel, I found this story to be interesting. So on the one hand, you still have the war hawks still in charge and still dictating things. Take a look at this, guys, because again, this is the power of the people getting together and discussing things as opposed to just doing whatever the narrative and whatever they're suggesting, right? And so look what's happening here. Survey shows Gantz, so this is from the Times of Israel, shows Gantz has a commanding lead over Netanyahu as war approaches its 100th day. Netanyahu, National Unity Party chair, is public's preferred prime minister. Netanyahu and allies muster 44 to 48, far below the 64 today. Only 9% of public believe Israel is winning the war. What? Yeah, only 9% of people who live in Israel believe that Israel is winning the war. What is that? Now that's why I put this story up there for this one line right here. Okay. So whether that's true or not, we don't know, but that's in the article and it's seeding the narrative. But that's an interesting point of view. If that in fact is true, we don't know. But if it's true, then this means their wag the dog effort is failing. That would explain why they're going to just start winding this down, because it's backfiring. National Unity Party leader Benny Gantz would easily form a ruling coalition if elections were held today. So you remember how Israel had to go through 3 different elections in order for it to make a government, right? And it was really, really close. Like every time they had this battle, it was really tough to create a government. Well, that has shifted hard at this point. And Trump's Prime Minister Netanyahu is the public preferred prime minister, according to opinion polls released Thursday and Friday. So he would beat Netanyahu if there were a race today. What do you think the chances are they're running elections anytime soon? Probably not, right? Channel 12 placed parties loyal to Netanyahu at 48 seats, 4 more than its previous poll, and former coalition at 67 seats. Both surveys show that Gantz party, which temporarily joined an emergency wartime government under Netanyahu to participate in critical decisions, would lead the largest party in Knesset with 39 seats, according to Ma'ariv, and 35, according to Channel 12. So what they're starting to let people know is this is almost over, okay? And whether they want to admit it or not, it is almost over. Netanyahu is struggling, and he should be struggling because, frankly, there are some very, very strong questions to be asked about this conflict. And again, not taking sides in either side. It makes no difference. But again, if you're purporting yourself to be taking the high ground and you're the good guys in the conflict, well, then you got to conduct yourself accordingly. And there's some serious charges that are being leveled against Netanyahu's government and Turkey to throw itself in the mix. So again, adding some texture. This was just a couple of days ago. Okay, Turkey launched airstrikes in Iraq and Syria, destroying bunkers, shelters, and oil facilities. The defense ministry said fighter jets destroyed bunkers, shelters, and oil facilities to eliminate terrorist attacks against our people, and a show of force. So what you're seeing here, and this is a behind a paywall, but what you're seeing is essentially conflict deterrence. I believe one of the things that they're doing is letting everyone know that this about to get real. Okay, we about to go. And they are really, really losing their patience. So I do think that the signal out to the world that we're winding this down, okay, is I think it looks suspiciously to me like they're recognizing that they're just not carrying the floor. They're not carrying the day. And I believe I also read the United Arab Emirates, when asked to foot the bill for some unemployment expense in the Gaza Strip, replied, no, go ask Zelensky. I hear he's got money. This is unprecedented blowback that we're watching. I've watched things like this. We've those of you that are older know that we watched many conflicts and many things go on in the Middle East. I've never seen this level of blowback, the level of confidence that countries have that are not falling in line. So, you know, if what you want is for people to just do what you say, and that's that, then I guess you do need a bomb. And that's where the bombs come in, I guess, is to scare everybody and make everybody do what you tell them, right? Because there's certain people, they really like fear, and they really enjoy the power that gives them. And as a matter of fact, a wild riot broke out in my brother, the Sentinel's neighborhood. Thank you to the East Coast Sentinel, stomping on the devil's head. And look what shook out. All of a sudden, light started to shine in a dark place. Not exactly a surprise to those of us that were calling for more light. Wild riot breaks out in New York City. And in New York City, where? What's that say? Does that say what I think it says? Okay, look at that. Over secret tunnel. Orthodox, you know who those are dragged away in cuffs after trying to block construction crew from filling in their illicit passageway. What is going on here? Hello. Okay. And how many know that this is poorly timed if you're trying to build a war effort? Come on, somebody, help me. All right. Chaos erupted at the Chabad Lubavitch global headquarters in Crown Heights last night. Tunnels beneath the Brooklyn synagogue. Something about Brooklyn, I got to tell you. Tunnels beneath the Brooklyn synagogue, first discovered in December. On Monday, cement mixers came to plug them, but were met with protests. What? What's going on, guys? Why are we mad? Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Wild scenes broke out on Monday at a synagogue in Brooklyn after construction workers arrived to fill in an illegally dug tunnel that was used by young Orthodox Jewish men. Notice how this thing's been sitting there for decades. Decades. Don't let them try and tell you that it was just last week. No, decades. That thing has been sitting there, and they're trying to make it sound like it was a bunch of young people. Right. Young people 30 years ago, maybe. All right. And they dug a tunnel, and the rabbis had discovered it. Oh, no. The wooden halls of the synagogue are pictured being ripped apart in scenes the rabbis. So mind-boggling. Look at this. As they found the tunnel, and they're like, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding me. Okay? What is this for? Why are we pulling out mattresses? Why are we pulling out all kinds of stuff got pulled out of this thing? And this turned into a wild scene, guys. Because that'll happen when you turn the lights on and cockroaches start scurrying. You ever notice that? You ever notice when you turn the lights on, if you have cockroaches, and all of a sudden they're going to move? I saw a video of a guy who was sleeping on a subway, and they got near him, and all these rats ran away from him. All of a sudden, all these rats took off right from underneath him. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. See what happens when you turn a light on? See what happens when you come in and they don't expect you? Wow, that was nuts. Okay, so we got a theater of operations. We got a war going on between groups in the Middle East. And we got some serious questions. The high ground is officially gone. It's officially gone. And so this has got all kinds of people starting to go, time out, hold up, wait a minute. And folks, it's not hard to figure out why they were banned from 1,000 countries. Okay, you guys need to understand that this is an old war just manifesting itself again, and so this is reality. Okay, this is where we are. And unfortunately, we've got, this situation is going to continue to widen. So remember last week, we talked about this. We talked about, let's see if I remember, where did I put that story? Well, anyway, we talked about the potential for there to be a war that would break out amongst all of the various or many of the various parties in the Middle East. And this is a grave concern. Let me see if I can find that story. It was our lead story last week, if you guys remember. And what we were talking about and what we shared was that there's great potential for the entire region to go up in conflict, right? So this is fear grows over. This was our lead story last week. Let me put it back up on the screen real quick. With each strike, fear grows that Israel and the U.S. and Iran's allies are inching closer to all-out war. So remember, we talked about this last week. All right. Well, we also warned that they were inching closer to attacking the Houthis. Remember that? Well, they went ahead and did that in this last week. So they went ahead and attacked as we anticipated. And lo and behold, now they're defending this. Okay, Biden defends the strike on the Houthis, vows to respond again. So, they're standing around going, I'm your Huckleberry. And they're like, we will kill you. And the other ones, we'll kill you back. Okay, let's go. And they finally got a partner to dance with. So, again, this looks very suspicious to me because it's always this unknown group. President Joe Biden on Friday defended ordering the U.S. military in coordination with the United Kingdom and other partners to carry out large-scale retaliatory strikes in Yemen against Iran-backed Houthi militants. Okay. These labeled groups always makes me suspicious. Iran-backed Houthi militants. We know nothing about that. We can't vet that. We don't know anything about that. Just a label. And one of the things we've learned is how easily people can be demonized with a label. Okay? Iran-backed Houthi militants over the attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. Speaking with reporters Friday afternoon on a trip to Pennsylvania. He called the strikes a success. Well, we're going to see if that was successful or not. And said the U.S. will continue to respond if the Houthis keep up their, quote, outrageous behavior. I wonder where they learned that. This outrageous behavior. You kind of wonder, where did you guys learn this outrageous behavior? Where did you come up with that? It's crazy. All right. And of course, Saudi Arabia, this is our neighbor, right? So this is just a neighbor to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is voicing great concern. Now, you guys remember, Saudi Arabia is a key player. They've reconnected with Iran, number one, and their BRICS initiative is enveloping them. They are also decoupling from the dollar, so this didn't help. Okay. And on top of that, they are aligning themselves more and more with China and Russia. So this is not a good sign that Saudi Arabia voices great concern, which could be devastating to the petrodollar going forward, over Yemen's airstrikes and foreign ministry. Saudi Arabia is following U.S. and British airstrikes on neighboring Yemen with great concern, a foreign ministry statement said on Friday, urging against escalation. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is following with great concern the military operations taking place in the Red Sea region and airstrikes in a number of sites in the Republic of Yemen. Okay, guys, it was never, ever allowed for a country like Saudi Arabia to express publicly any division with the United States. The very fact that they're able to do this indicates in and of itself, those of you that are veterans of reviewing this know that. And the fact is that this is a very unusual event for there to be an open statement like that. It's getting real. It's getting real. And this is going to become more and more dangerous as we go forward. Of course, the Houthis are not just planning on sitting back. So this is why this is, this war of words, and why we watch the war of words is because it usually precedes actions, right? So they telegraph their punches. So pay attention. And the deadly blitz, Iran-backed rebels vow unimaginable revenge on U.S. and U.K. after strikes on Houthi strongholds, kill 5 militants. More than 100 precision-guided munitions launched by fighter jets and warstrips struck military infrastructure in 16 locations belonging to the Iran-backed rebel group. And so they sent in smart bombs and blew up a bunch of stuff. Which is, hey, if there's one thing the West is good at, it's blowing stuff up. Just saying. That's one thing they're good at. They can target, they can shoot a bullet, or they can shoot a weapon and they can hit a target. So if that's your problem, oh yes, the U.S. military is the solution. Not so sure how many real problems we have that require a missile to hit a specific spot, but if you do, I'm telling you, nobody's better than these guys. Okay. So they all they needed was an excuse, and that was it. Well, how many would have thought, like, hey, these Houthis finally got the message and are now know, don't mess with Big Brother or else, right? Apparently they did not get the memo. Houthi rebels strike a U.S.-owned ship off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden, raising tensions. Okay, so Houthi rebels fired a strike a U.S. ship Monday just off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden. That's today. Less than a day after the launch, after they launched anti-ship cruise missile toward an American destroyer in the Red Sea. So apparently, whoever is on the other side thinks that this is ping pong, and so they're just hitting the ball back. They're trying to start a war. They want it to be catastrophic, guys. They need cover stories. They need reasons for this war. They need provocations. They need tripwires. They need, offenses, reasons. They need reasons, okay? And they're trying to drum up those reasons. And you see it happening literally right in front of you if you're paying attention. And again, so let's go ahead and thicken the plot. And this is why we grab. You notice that we're like all over the place grabbing news stories on this, because no one outlet is putting this story together, like really helping you understand. They give you pieces and you have to dig to find the pieces. So check this out. I'm sure this is a news site you all frequent often. Right? I mean, but here's another piece that you would need to know, right? So look at this piece of information. Is this relevant? Yeah, because that's a tripwire. See that? Iran's Revolutionary Guard is deployed to Yemen. Hello. And what do you suppose? They hit whatever advanced supplies they had pre-positioned. That's what just got blown up. Commanders and advisors from Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are on the ground in Yemen and playing a direct role in Houthi rebel attacks and commercial traffic in the Red Sea. We don't know this for a fact, but there it is in the narrative. So it doesn't matter if it's true, because now it's in the narrative. You guys get how this works? Even though the Houthis could be completely innocent, being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Won't matter. They're about to be, they're the tripwire for this. They've already decided that they're the guys we're blaming for this particular portion of the conflict. And it doesn't make any difference what they say at this point. Houthis say that its military operations are designed to aid the Palestinian militant group Hamas, which is locked in a 3-month war with Israel, which, again, only 9% of Israelis believe Israel is winning that war. So that's interesting. I mean, one would think, and again, what do I know? But one would think that if you've got a war that you're not exactly like wiping the floor with the other team, that you might not want to start other conflicts. But no, what do I know? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you want the whole thing to go up in a powder keg, in which case, by all means, fire away, Jim. We need more power. Fire away. Right? What one senator said? Blow them off the map. Blow them off the map, right? Okay, well, again, this is the mentality that is now coming in. And again, folks, we're dealing with varying levels of mental illness all over the earth. But this is the mentality that's coming in. So we're on this roller coaster ride. Whether we want to be or not, we are on this roller coaster ride. And these guys do seem to be driving. So this is going to get interesting. And as a matter of fact, again, a news source that you might not hear from, I like to go all over, because as I start to look at worldviews and different things coming from different sides, it's not good to just listen to one side and only hear their perspective. You want to hear the other side's perspective. Even though you may or may not agree with them, it doesn't matter. It's their perspective. And, as a peacemaker, you should always listen anyway. But I digress. And so the world is on the threshold, according to Lukashenko, the Belarusian leader. He's saying that the world is on a threshold of a grandiose events. So what did he get written in on? What did he get a memo on? What emails is he reading, right? That he's not able to tell you directly, but he's able to tell you indirectly. 2024 to be turbulent, Lukashenko says. You think? The Belarusian leader pointed to the continued persistent attempts by the U.S. to rule the world the way it was after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And there's a lot of countries that feel this way, that the U.S. is extending its power not through its own excellence and its own extraordinary quality leadership style, but by using undermining and underhand techniques. Okay, this year will be dramatic and turbulent as the world is on the threshold of grandiose events, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko said in a reception on the occasion of the Orthodox New Year. I would like to warn you, the world is on the eve of grandiose events. We are in a precarious situation today. It is like walking on thin ice. One careless move, and we can sink and cause the state to capsize. In all likelihood, this year will be very dramatic. Okay. So when, leaders make statements like this to their people, it's their attempt to wash blood off their hands before things happen. So this is a foretelling, in my opinion. This is an ominous sign when a leader who, otherwise doesn't do that, is coming out saying, brace yourself. We just saw other leaders doing the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, preparation for conflict seems to be a theme that we're seeing now. So it wasn't just, so we're seeing some conflict that's already popping off, and we're seeing preparation. So when you see the word preparing, this is foretelling. Okay, they are literally foretelling what they're going to do. And remember, these are witches, these are warlocks. These guys love to do this. Germany is preparing for Putin's attack against NATO in 2025. What do they got, a crystal ball? Okay, leaked secret plans reveal step by step how Russia will escalate conflict to all-out war in 18 months. Secret documents from German Defense Ministry reveal doomsday guide. Who wrote these secret documents? It's like the kid that says, when Armstrong comes out of the capsule, one giant leap for man, one giant step for mankind, and the kid goes, "Who filmed that? Who's filming that?" And the teacher's not sure what to say. Who leaked these? Who wrote these documents? Germany is preparing for Vladimir Putin's forces to attack NATO in 2025. Who says? According to who? According to leaked secret plans. Okay, cool. It's not like a manifesto. You guys got to be kidding me. This has been going on since the 1600s. Remember the Rosicrucians with leaked manifesto by the Knights of the Helmet? These guys don't change their tactics. They keep it up. Secret documents in the German Ministry of Defense reveal a step-by-step doomsday guide on how Russia will escalate the conflict on Ukraine to an all-out war in just 18 months because Russia got nothing better to do but have all-out war with all of you. The leaked plans published by the German newspaper Bild reveal the detail to a plan to a third world war with Putin using Belarus as a launching pad for an invasion, as he did in February 22 for his war on Ukraine. The release of this terrifying document comes just days after Sweden's civil defense minister warned that his country could soon face the prospect of war. Everybody, be afraid. Be very afraid. When you guys figure out that all that poltergeist and all those things you see all come from your spirit moving things, they always have to capitalize on your fear. Their favorite drug comes from fear. Everything in their kingdom works by fear. Perfect love casts out all fear. Amen. It's just really so obvious and frankly quite comical the more you look at it, because they are exactly that. Who said that? Yes, warmongers. And again, I keep asking this question because I don't mean this to be condescending. I mean this sincerely. I cannot think of a problem that is solved by a smart bomb. The only reason why you have such things is to intimidate, to force, there's nothing democratic about a smart bomb. It says, oh, you don't agree with me? Oh, okay. Boom. How's that democratic? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand it. No one's explained it to me. I understand defense. That I understand. I understand defend yourself. That I get. But, just bombing and bombing and bombing, like we've watched in Gaza, I don't understand that logic. That I don't get. That I don't understand. Why did they bomb all the bells in World War II? Why were so many bells and buildings where they had bells destroyed? Why did they do that? That's a question I'd like, because that's what I've seen carpet bombs do. They just destroy. And who comes to steal, kill, and destroy? That is not the good guys. Just saying. Okay. And here we're seeing saber rattling because we don't have enough war. So let's go on over to the east and saber rattle over there too. Xi Jinping, he's in a battle with China's own military. So this is reports coming out that he's in trouble, and the outcome could drag the U.S. into World War III because he wants, according to this report, which is coming from Business Insider. So who knows whether or not this is true, but this is now being fed into the narrative. Xi Jinping is in a struggle with China's military, again, according to who, they don't even state, purging senior commanders to reshape it. Have you noticed that when we grew up, those of you that are older, they used to state where they got, certain things. Not anymore. They just make these statements. Look at this, bullet points. He wants generals ready and willing to go to war, analysts told Business Insider. What analysts? Who's the analyst? Does he live in China? Does he have access to Xi Jinping? Does he email him 3 times a week? How does he know what he wants and doesn't want? See what I mean? Like, you read this without really thinking critically, and you'll absorb this information as though it's fact. He wants generals ready and willing to go to war. Who says that? A Chinese invasion somewhere like Taiwan could drag the U.S. into the Third World War, one analyst says. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I think that there's certainly potential for conflict, but again, if they wanted to attack Taiwan, they would have done it already. The Chinese leader is trying to gain control of the military, and I think he's thinking that he needs officers who are prepared to actually fight, said Gordon Chang, a senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute and author of China is Going to War. So he wrote something called China is Going to War. He's got to keep talking about it because he's got to sell his book or whatever the heck he wrote. Okay. And he works for the Gatestone Institute. Now, how much you want to bet that I'm going to look into the Gatestone Institute and find out they got an agenda? Okay. The fact is that we got to stop letting these things manipulate us and create fear mongering. There's a sense that many of China's generals, officials don't want to fight. Okay. Well, I would think that's probably a sense most countries have. I'm pretty sure most militaries feel that way. No matter how much preparation they have made, I'm pretty sure all the militaries of the earth are going, I don't really want to fight if we can avoid it. Okay. So this is nonsense, more nonsense. And it's passed on as news to feed the narrative so that they can keep, in the event that they need the China theater to go hot, they've got plenty of precursor, plenty of seed in the ground, if you will, as to why this conflict would be legitimate. Need legitimization, need the high ground, and they're losing high ground everywhere. Yeah, pay no. That is right over the target, Aaron. Well said. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, all being manipulated. And that's what's got me a little, as I'm watching this, I'm going, wow, these guys are really, really, really walking into they're walking into their own stuff. Okay. So how many heard that? So Chicago apparently is asking Texas, can you guys, quit sending all those people up here, especially in the cold, because, it's really bad. It's like, well, we didn't tell them to come to the country. We're not the ones that told them it was a sanctuary city. So we'll go ahead and send them up to you, and you could deal with them in the cold and hungry and all of that. And then see if you want to talk to them about being a sanctuary city again. Which, of course, is hilarious, right? So there's all this stuff that's going on, which is really kind of crazy, but it makes sense in some way. It's like, okay, well, this is the democratic way. Fine. You elected to make yourselves a sanctuary city. You guys voted on that. Did all the citizens agree on that? Good, because you're getting you're getting all the immigrants, right? So another one of their wonderful thoughts was that they should shut down all but green energy. That was it. Just had to have green energy, right? Without the infrastructure in place. So it wasn't like they said in 10 years or 20 years, we're building these plants and then we're going to phase out. Nope. They just went ahead and phased out without providing the solution. And so now we're seeing effects on power grids. We're seeing effects on all kinds of stuff. All right. Take a look at this, guys. I didn't even know what to laugh or what, but I just thought this was hilarious. So the United Nations is now forced to shut down Europe's HQ to save money. because of policies that these knuckle bunnies helped introduce and push, right? Officials of the UN moved to Geneva have said electricity bills have increased by more than 300% over the last 3 years. The United Nations has been forced to shutter. I'm sorry, but this is just hilarious. Been forced to shutter its European HQ due to electricity costs. With bills proving almost insurmountable for the international organization. No, seriously, go ahead. Put up another bunch of windmills. We're with you. Come on, man. We need... You got to know that this is hilarious. They can't get out of their own way. And they continue to make these literal blunders. I mean, I don't know how they're not making like all the top... back in the day, guys like Jay Leno would have had a field day with this stuff. Not anymore, but, oh well. We'll laugh at them. We'll sit back and go, so, can't pay your electric bill. Welcome to Europe. There's a few million families that can feel you, okay? If you can't pay your electric bill, genius, what do you think is happening to the average person in Europe? I mean, just think that through. Once again, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, right? Okay. And so you don't get this much laughter from his local news. Well, I'm sorry. We're at 10,000 foot and the air's a little thin up here. So there's that. Now, now they're reporting, of course, that Russia has an excellent chance of completing its conflict, which we've been saying all year. This was some kind of clever money grab and equipment grab. We said that literally a year ago, and we've been watching this absolute nonsense manifesting in Eastern Europe. And again, they're using this as material, if you will, to put fear in the rest of Europe. Again, I just don't sense that that's the actual intention. I think that Russia would have to be severely attacked by Western Europe for them to be... I don't think that's what they want. Ukraine's President Zelensky, despite all the bravado, so they were just here not long ago. Come on, give us money. They're getting all kinds of... Ukraine just, gave them another affirmation that we're behind you, right? We saw this push. If photo ops and public declarations won wars, then these guys were winning. But that's not how it works, okay? And Russia's flat whooping them, okay? They just straight are. And the Ukraine President Zelensky is now calls in Switzerland to organize a peace deal as Russia is hitting back, all right? And this is today. So this is fresh off the presses. Vladimir Putin is unlikely to play ball given the pressures he's facing on and off the battlefield. And, he's getting a lot of attention. Vladimir Zelensky was signaled he wants to end the Ukraine war. There was a journalist that was killed who was looking into a purchase of a condo and some other things that were used with some of this money. So the kind of attention, again, this is a bad day for tunnels. Let's just say Swiss President Viola Amherd revealing during a joint press conference, I confirm that Switzerland is ready to organize the conference. We agreed that the details of further approach will be looked into in depth in order to make this peace process a success. They're already talking as if they have the right. Listen to the losers are saying we're going to establish a peace process. You're the losers. You don't get to establish the peace process. So this is crazy making. But this is the kind of nuts that you hear from psychos, from narcissistic crazy people who get caught red-handed and they go, okay, well, since you caught me, I'm going to go ahead and negotiate this now. What? But this is where we are, man. And of course, Sweden's people, Sweden's defense minister, and again, why? Because they lost this effort. This is reality. And Sweden's defense ministry warns the public to brace for war. Hold on, let me refresh this page because I don't know why it had that picture on there. Oh, I suppose they're promoting that. Okay. And so I just love these paywalls, don't you? Swedish defense warned for brace for war as the nation nears NATO membership has prompted some panic and caused supplies to fly off the shelves. So once again, using the fear button, they're scaring the people. They're telling them, prepare for war, prepare for war. Okay. Little do they know that the real enemy are their own governments. There hasn't been a government in the history of Earth that didn't eventually turn on its own people. Not one. So if you're looking for an enemy, you don't have to look far. We have to keep control of our own local communities and not allow them to start getting delusions of grandeur. Right? Here's another thing we knew was coming. We got prophetic word that this was on a list of 10 things that we knew would happen before the coming of the king. And this was not done at the time that we got that word. It was 2013. You did not, you still were getting laughed at. It was still in vogue, if you remember, to absolutely ridicule anybody who mentioned a UFO or unidentified flying object of any kind. Not anymore. Now it's gone mainstream. UFO Revolution docuseries shows UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, I guess is what that now is, flying over a military base, blows up decades of conspiracies. Do they apologize to all the people that they made look like idiots? No. Now they act like, oh yeah, no, we knew this all along. And this is how they do it. It's how they do it on all kinds of stuff. They'll just act like, what? Yeah, I already knew this. Yeah, we're totally on board. The UFO Revolution docuseries blows up decades of conspiracies. And so again, they have been making people look like idiots, making fun of them, calling them crazy, right? And here it turns out they're not crazy. They saw what they saw. And now they're coming out, oh yeah, we have all this footage. Wow. I mean, wow, how many people were destroyed? Literally laughed out of their businesses or homes. They couldn't talk because if they did tell people what they saw, they would be absolutely destroyed. And now they come along and go, yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, there's UAPs, things we don't know how to explain it, but it's definitely there. We got footage. Wow. For all the people that knew that all along, and this is your hour of vindication. I feel bad for folks because you know that they beat people up. Okay, you just know, and this is reality. The world is getting warned about the economics. So we're shifting gears here a little bit. The global economy is headed for the worst half decade in 30 years, according to the World Bank. So that's not good. The global economy, and I really think they mean the Western global economy. So they like to say global economy, but BRICS is not looking like they're going to have that kind of the same kind of problems. So I think it's the Western side of the global economy, but I digress. The global economy will slow in 2024 for the third straight year. It appears headed for the weakest half decade since the early 1990s, the World Bank said Tuesday in its latest annual forecast. While higher interest rates appear to be bringing inflation under control without the serious financial crisis or soaring unemployment that many had feared, the global economy overall performance is lagging, said Dermot Gill, the bank's top economist. Well, people have to adjust. And whenever there's new technology that comes on the horizon, it changes work. It changes the way things are done. When that happens, it changes employment. And when information comes out that reveals the truth about control mechanisms that were used against people, that has a tendency to have an effect. It also has an effect when you find out there's been fraud going on. That'll have an effect on banks. Okay, so over 60,000 people have lost their jobs in the banking sector because we're figuring out what kind of fraud was operating as standard procedure in the banking sector. We'll be talking about that in future updates. But just so you know, that's why there's so much shift going on, because light is shining as predicted. And as a matter of fact, you're going to start seeing the big companies shifting away from Ukraine. This was what told me that the day has shifted, that the hour is changing, time to move on. PepsiCo bans the mention of Ukrainian army and support for Kiev in advertising. The list of restrictions indicated that there should be no mention of hostilities, the Ukrainian armed forces, or calls to support Ukraine and its army, or other negative connotations creating a feeling of danger. Stop creating a feeling of danger. Don't do that. We don't want to create a feeling of danger. I just think this stuff is laughable. I really do. I think some of this is really amazing how they just think we're all so dumb. We're just not going to talk about that anymore. And that way we'll just be disconnected. It doesn't matter that we were over here before, but now we're over here, or neutral, or just we're not sure. It's a joke, but welcome to our world. So this indicates to me, reading sort of in between the, because they get memos, right? So this is like insider trading. And you can watch them and you say, why are you buying this stock, right? Same kind of thing. Why are you suddenly saying, hey, everyone, we're no longer going to be, speaking publicly about support for Ukraine? Yeah, well, maybe because they're going to Switzerland to try to close this deal up. All right. Nothing to see here, folks. Just ignore that guy. And, those warmongers, well, in the mid 1500s, there was a group created that did nothing but create war. Just saying. So they're still operating, and apparently they're just continuing to create more conflict throughout the earth. All right. Ecuador is, what happened to standing with Ukraine? I don't know. Ecuador is erupting in civil war with cartel thugs. So if you remember, El Salvador, which is also a Central American country, basically rounded up all of their cartel members and put them all in prison. Well, it looks like Ecuador is trying to do the same thing. Ecuador erupts in civil war with cartel thugs. President orders the army onto streets as crazed criminals rampage through cities, with TV stations seized, universities attacked, and jail guards executed following escape of mob boss. So there was a mob boss that they had, a gang leader, Adolfo Fito Macias. He escaped from prison and sparked violence in Ecuador. And on Tuesday, armed men broke into a set of a live TV show and threatened people. Now, they were eventually arrested, so it's not like they got away with it. But it was indicating the level to which they were having conflict. Ecuador has erupted into a civil war with cartel thugs after the president ordered an army onto the streets and declared a state of internal armed conflict. Now, I want to remind you all of something that happened a year before the plague that hit London in 1666. There was a smaller plague that hit Derby in 1665. And for those that with eyes that are trained to our enemies know, so you were practicing and getting it right in this smaller area, making sure you got it good and you tested it, and now you can export it to someplace else. I'm just looking at patterns, and these guys don't change their tricks much. So looks to me like they're going to be exporting this same divide and conquer with aggressiveness. Meanwhile, we do have natural things that are happening in the earth as well. Many of you are paying attention to these things as well. I just put this up just for the sake of keeping us informed. Iceland was hit by a fresh volcano eruption, and this is the earth itself responding to what is going on the earth. And the Bible tells us, the scripture tells us, that the earth will vomit out its inhabitants. So a volcano erupted in southwest Iceland early Sunday, sending lava flowing toward a nearby town for the second time in a few weeks. And this is indicating more than just this. So these are all connected. All of the volcanoes and underground flows and what have you, it's all connected stuff. And as the earth begins to respond, I do believe we're going to all know about it. I can't bring this story up, but I'll tell you about it. I don't know why it's not coming up today. Yahoo's got some issues, but there's bone-chilling cold that is coming in to the U.S. So if you're in the United States, it's about to get real, and it is really putting the test to the power grid. And this is something that we knew. We've been watching all year. That once again they mandated all these electrical things and more electrical demand prior to ensuring that they had excess capacity. No, we don't want to bother with getting excess capacity first. Let's go ahead and pass the rule so we can celebrate the political win, even though there's no infrastructure to do what we just passed a law to do. This is the crazy making that we see going on all over the world. And so just be aware that this may be then used later on as a pretext for shutting power off. And why there aren't backup systems going into every town is a mystery to me. It's a different conversation for a different day, but it's one that I think we need to have. And communities need to get smarter about their backup and about creating power on site as opposed to being relying on the city bus. No other way to say that. You're waiting for the city bus and you hope it gets you to work on time every week. But there's days when it just ain't running. All right. And so this is reality. And as a result of these various conflicts, you're seeing a strengthening of BRICS. We've been watching these guys all year, haven't we, guys? All right. You guys are all very sharp. You're paying attention to these fellas. Well, this is all of this activity we've discussed, all these things that are going on. By the way, they're angry at Russia now because Russia is using North Korean missiles. Is anybody surprised? Remember, we talked about them going over and having a powwow late summer with Xi Jinping, or I'm sorry, with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin got together. Well, you knew that was going to be, they literally said that was an exchange. And then we saw Rocket Man getting all excited, right? Well, they weren't the only ones that got some stuff out of the deal. Apparently Russia got some extra things out of the deal and they're firing them off. Now they're like, hey, wait, party foul. You went and got resupplied from North Korea. You can't do that. It's like against the rules. I'm literally watching children. I just don't understand. Okay. They don't even know how to pull this thing off correctly because they don't even know how this works. It's crazy. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, the same grown-ups on the earth are going, you want to trash your own system, go right ahead. We're going to keep on going. Okay. So BRICS is offering bonds now. Guys, this is huge. Okay. Huge. BRICS offers bonds worth $28 billion in local currency, not US dollars. Why is this important? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is for the institutional investor. If they start pulling institutional investors, guys, it's going to move fast. The BRICS Bank, commonly called the New Development Bank, is preparing to launch new bonds in the global market. The soon-to-be released bonds launched by BRICS will be called Maharaja bonds and made available for governments, financial institutions, and regular investors. Interesting, the BRICS bonds will be available for purchase in local currencies and not the US dollar. BRICS is advancing in its de-dollarization initiatives by putting roadblocks on the prospects of the US dollar. So again, everything that you see being built on every effort that is being made by the East and their initiatives and their various conferences and so forth, they're all workarounds. Everything they do is a workaround. It's built to work around the current existing hegemony controlled by the West. So you can see why the West is upset, wants to bomb everybody, because they're getting completely iced out. They're not even in the conversation. Like, we don't need to talk to you to do business between us two countries over here. And there are those that think that you do have to talk to them. is they feel like they're the de facto world government. Hello? How come they feel so entitled? I thought they were going toward a world government. Why are these people acting this way? And why do they have military in every time zone across the earth? How's that possible? Right? There's your world government, folks. It was right there all along, right in front of your face. And so in the meantime, we need to turn our attention back toward our families. We need to stop paying too much attention to this stuff. I'm so grateful we get a chance to look at this and get the 10,000 foot view, laugh at them a little bit. But how many know that we've got things going on right here at home, right in your own communities and neighborhoods that we do have power to affect? And I am so thankful for my brothers out there who are getting on fire, who are coming into the kingdom. And there's plenty of work to do, because I'm going to tell you right now, we've got an epidemic level of fatherlessness in our country. And it's so amazing to see that even mainstream news is acknowledging this massive social mistake. And that's what this was. It was a massive social mistake that America fell for witchcraft several decades ago, okay? And fell for this lie, and allowed government to destroy the family, and allowed the financiers and the bankers and the liars to determine what we believed and didn't believe. And look at the results, guys. Fatherlessness is one of the true root causes of crime in America, okay? And this is a Wall Street Journal journalist. A new academic study is suggesting the presence of two parents in a household may play a crucial role in ensuring safer communities. You think? Wall Street journalist columnist Jason Riley, who recently wrote about the topic, argued on Sunday Night in America with Ted Gowdy that the biggest root of crime is fatherlessness. Riley referenced the book Two-Parent Privilege by economist Melissa Kearney, and emphasizes significant impact of family structure on social inequality. And when you start looking at the data, especially with regard to incarceration, and that having a two-parent family or having just the father has a similar impact on incarceration and completion of school and getting on a good path. Being parented only by the mother had horrible results. And that was what was encouraged. This is not against women or not against moms, because I was raised by a single mom. But I also had a brother that spent like most of his adult life in prison. So you can't call that a success, right? So again, reality is, and you can't always blame the parents. Sometimes you have a cane, and that's just reality. And that happens. But nevertheless, I think overall, we've all seen the results of fatherlessness, which is pure religion undefiled, to be a father to the fatherless. And we saw the results of it. And this is what happens when you give secular authority, or the secular community authority, that belongs only to the Natsarim. The power of assembly has been usurped. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about that on Shabbat for the next 4 weeks. We're going to talk about assembly and why it's so important. And again, it's been hijacked by liars, by thieves, by imposters, by those who work for anti-Mashiach. And you can tell by their fruit, especially concerning children. There shouldn't be, you will not find, you shouldn't find dead bodies of children underneath somebody's church, right? Can I say that without offending anybody, right? I mean, that should be the kiss of death right there. You should be done. If you're involved in that kind of activity, well, you're all done with ministry, okay? And it's not the kiss of death, because these are all they're not ministries. They're political organizations. They're businesses. They're banks. They're corporations of a different level. They're not ministries. And so when you understand that, then you understand how they're able to continue to do the things they do and get away with it. This is our last story for the night. I just figured I'd throw this in. This man did pass away, but now they're coming out with information about this church. TB Joshua, megachurch leader, raped and tortured worshipers. BBC finds. Anybody else finding it interesting that these ministries are all being outed for being fake, one after another? and they're, being called out. It doesn't really matter. The details of this particular story don't matter. But what does matter is what's happening. And I see the judgment of Elohim coming for all the fakes and the phonies and all those who stood up and started to speak and declare lies, who were looking for men's advantage and didn't care that what they were sharing and what they were repeating were lies made by witches. And so now judgment comes upon all of these. And this is a foretelling, I believe, of more that we're going to find out. So a couple of weeks ago, we discussed another ministry that more and more information is coming out to verify, in fact, that early denials were a little premature, as we suspected. Okay. And that's going to continue to be the case as more and more light shines in dark places, and the hour of the whistleblower grows as more people have the courage to come forward and say, this is what really happened. And I do believe that this is going to continue to expose those that were imposters all along, folks. And it wasn't like they just became an imposter. They always were. And this is unfortunately the reality of not having the authentic Ruach HaKodesh. So on that note, I'm going to let you go. We've covered a lot of stories tonight. I want to encourage everyone out there to be praying for your brothers and sisters, to be praying one for another, to encourage one another, especially as you see the day approaching. And we're going to be talking about assembly. This is a power that they stole from you with the intent of ruling over you, a power they were never authorized to have. And so I hope you join us this coming Sabbath day for that discussion. And again, I want to encourage every one of you to find your fold, to be part of wherever Elohim has established for you. And if he's already told you where that is and you haven't been there and you haven't been faithful, time to repent, time to get up there, and time to make right and bring forth fruit, meet for repentance. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. I pray this broadcast has been a blessing to you. May Elohim bless each and every one of you. Good night.